Hello students, we were discussing regarding Government of India Act 1935. So the act came into existence to remove the drawbacks existed in the Act of 1919 because 1919 Act failed to fulfill the aspirations of the people of India. So under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi started agitation for Swarajya to be attained through non-cooperation. As per the Government of India Act 1919, statutory commission was to be appointed at the expiration of 10 years after the passing of the act for the purpose of inquiring into the working of the system and the development of representative institutions in India with a view to extend, modify or restrict the degree of responsible government then existing in India. The British government appointed a statutory commission in 1927 to inquire into the report of 1919 Act. This was done as an concession to the Indian demand for an early revision of the Act. The commission headed by Sir John Seaman consisted of 7 members from British Parliament. It did not give a single Indian as a member. It was taken as an insult to self-respect of India and hence boycotted. Simon go back. The commission visited India. It announced in 1929 that dominion status was the goal of Indian developments. Gandhi led the first roundtable conference held in 1930. Dr. Ambedkar led the second in 1931. Again, Gandhi led the third in 1932. The outcome of these conferences was announced in the form of white paper. Then the Act incorporated important provisions. First of all, the Act contained 321 articles and 13 schedules. So apart from this Act also incorporated the establishment of the Federation of India. So establishment of federal form of the government. It consisted of provinces of British India and princely states as units. For the first time, an attempt was made to establish federal government. First provision incorporated in this act, establishment of federal government. Then second one, this act also laid down the distribution of the power, distribution of legislative power between the central and provincial legislature. So there was a threefold division. They laid down these power must be vested in the hands of the center, these power must be vested in the hands of the provinces. So this act reduced in writing clearly mentioned regarding the distribution of the power relating to the administration. In that, the first one, the federal list, it consisted 59 subjects like external affairs, currency, defense, etc., over which the federal legislature had legislative power. It means that making the legislation regarding all these subjects, the power is given in the hands of the federal legislature. Only alone is having the power to make, to modify, to pass any law related fall under these subjects. Then the second one, provincial list, consisted of 54 subjects like police, education, etc., over which provincial legislature had jurisdiction. It means that these all will fall under the control of the provincial. Only the provincial government alone is having the power to modify, to make alteration relating to all these subjects. Jurisdiction vested in the hands of the provinces. Then the third one, concurrent list, consisted of 36 subjects like criminal law, civil procedure, marriage and divorce, etc., over which both the federal and the provincial legislature had competence. So this concurrent list vested the power in the hands of the federal as well as the provincial legislature. Both federal legislature as well as the provincial legislature, both empowered to make modification, changes fall under these subject. So then the remaining powers with the Governor General. So this way here the act assigned certain power should be kept in the hands of the center, certain power should be kept in the hands of the provincial legislature, and remaining should be vested in the hands of the Governor General. So then the third important provision incorporated in Act of 1935, that is the diarchy at the center. Diarchy means establishment of dual government. The diarchy which was established in the provinces by Act of 1919 was now adopted at the center. So this was passed in 1919 only, but not implemented. But this Act, 1935 Act, bring into operation. So adopted at the center. The executive authority vested in the Governor General, including the following. So the concept of the diarchy incorporated following features. In that, the first one, the administration of reserved subject like defense, external affairs, etc. was done by Governor General with the help of councillors who were appointed by him and not responsible to legislature. According to the first concept, the administration of reserve subject under the control of Governor General. So, with the help of councillors appointed by him only, he can take the help of the councillors regarding any of the matter fall under this category and not responsible to legislature. That means he is not responsible to legislature. Then the second one, in the matters of the transport subject, the Governor General acted on the advice of the Council of the Minister who were responsible to the legislature. So here first of all, he has not made him as a responsible to legislature. In the second one, diarchy means establishment of the two government, one the center and another one is the province. In the center, he is not responsible because center power vested in the hands of the Governor General. He used to take the help of the councillors but not responsible to legislature. He is not responsible to legislature. But whereas in case of the provincial subject, in the matters of the transferred subject, the Governor General acted on the advice of the Council of the Minister who were responsible to the legislature. He makes the Council of the Minister responsible to legislature. So this way here, diarchy at the center followed by vesting the power in the hands of the Governor General and vesting the power in the hands of the Council of the Minister and making them responsible to legislature. Then the fourth one, the federal legislature. The fourth provision incorporated in this act. The central legislature was bicameral, consisting Federal Assembly and the Council of the State. Federal legislature, the central legislature was bicameral means existence of two houses. First one, the Council of the State consisted of 260 members, of which 156 were elected from British India and 104 were nominated by princely states. Then the second one, Federal Assembly consisted of 375 members, of which 250 were elected by the legislative assemblies and 125 nominated by the rules of the princely state. So according to this provision, vested establishment of the federal legislature by incorporation of two houses, that is known as Council of the State and Federal Assembly. The Council of the State consisted 260 members. Then Federal Assembly consisted 375. Now we can call it as a Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. That time they have incorporated these two houses. The council was to be a permanent body. So they have given the entire nature, the function of these two houses. Then how those federal legislature functioning? Already we come to know the federal legislature is functioning with the help of two houses. That is the Council of the State and the Assembly. But the formation of the Federal Council of the State, the Council of the State permanent. It is a permanent house. Then 1/3 of its members were to retire after 3 years. Being a permanent house, only the members will retire to the house. The house will remain function with the remaining members. The term of the House of Assembly was 5 years. Indirect method of election was prevalent for House of Assembly. So here this act laid down the functioning of these two houses. One is the Federal Assembly, another one is the Council of the States. The Council of the State is permanent. The term is not fixed because every member, one-third member retired after every 3 years. The house will functioning with the remaining members. But whereas in case of the House of Assembly, the term is fixed for 5 years. The election, indirect method of election was incorporated towards the assembly. Then there was a bicameral legislature in Bengal. During that time, the bicameral functioning of the legislature existed in Bengal, Bombay, Bihar and Madras. Rest of the provinces had unicameral legislature. So the first of all outcome of the act, what are the provisions incorporated by this act? First one, establishment of the federal government, followed by distribution of the power between the federal list, provincial list and concurrent list. Then establishment of the diarchy at the center. Then the fourth one, the federal legislature composed of Council of the State and the Federal Assembly. Then the next one, the next provision incorporated by the Act of 1935, that is the Federal Court. It provided for the first time the establishment of the Federal Court for India in Delhi. This act laid down for the formation of the court in Delhi. It was established in 1937 and consisted of Chief Justice and 6 additional judges appointed by His Majesty's government on the basis of high qualification. So, this act introduced the establishment of the judicial organization. It established in Delhi, then consisted of Chief Justice and 6 additional judges. All were appointed by Majesty's government, that means British government. It had original jurisdiction to decide dispute between the center and the provinces. Again, this act not only provides the information or regarding the establishment of the federal court, apart from this act also laid down the functioning of the federal court. So this federal court having the original jurisdiction, that means it receives the cases between the state and the provinces. Whenever the differences occur between the center and the provinces, the federal court provides the justice by removal of any of the issue. Then the second one, appellate jurisdiction over decision of the High Court. So the federal court also receives the appeals from the High Court. Then this federal court also acts as advisory jurisdiction to advise the Governor General on any point of view. So this way here, these are the powers and functions during that time only incorporated by the people of India. That means as per the conferences held by the Gandhiji as well as the Ambedkar, whatever they were having in mind, they reduced in the white paper. Then they accepted by the British Parliament. It was the highest court in India. The federal court functioned in India for about 12 years till its transformation into the Supreme Court of India in 1950 under the present constitution. So this way here the federal court started functioning after the passing of this act, that is the 1937. The court was established in 1937 and started functioning as a federal court. Now we can call it that as a Supreme Court of India. So under the present constitution. Then another important object from this act, that is provincial autonomy. That means provincials provided certain privileges. So by this act, provinces no longer remained as delegates of central government but became autonomous units of administration. Earlier, the provincial autonomy was not provided in the hands of the provincial state but under the control of the central government only. As per according to the direction issued by the central government, the provincial state should function. But this act removed that that concept and provided autonomous, that means freedom, in the hands of the provincial government state. The act introduced provincial autonomy. It was introduced in 11 provinces like Madras, Bombay, Bengal, United Provinces, Punjab, Bihar, Central Provinces, Assam, the Northwestern Frontier Province, Orissa and Sindh. As federation was not introduced at the center, the government of India was represented by the Governor General. The provinces were administered by the ministers. The difference between the reserved and the transferred subject was dropped. All subjects were placed under the charge of ministers who were made responsible to and removable by legislative assembly. Thus, the executive was responsible to legislature. The legislative relations between the central government and the provinces were regulated according to three lists of subjects provided under this act. So, this act provided freedom or privileges in the hands of the provincial states. Then the provincial autonomous was introduced in 11 provinces. These provinces were administered by ministers. The difference between the reserved and the transferred subjects was removed. All subjects were placed under the charge of minister, because reserved subject and the transfer subject, already we come to know that reserved subjects are kept under the control of the Governor General, or the remaining will be transferred subject were controlled by the Indian people. So that was removed by this concept. All subjects were placed under the charge of ministers who were made responsible to and removable by legislative assembly. That means the autonomous was given in the hands of the people of India and minister made responsible to the legislative assembly. Thus, executive was responsible to legislature. The legislative relations between the central government and the provinces were regulated according to three lists of subjects provided under this act. Remaining we'll discuss in the next session regarding the provincial autonomy, and the next one, the Indian Independence Act, the origin, the nature and objective, we'll discuss in the next session.